Sigmund Freud developed a type of therapy called psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis aims to cure mental illness by investigating the interaction between conscious and unconscious elements in the mind and bringing repressed fears and conflicts into the conscious mind by interpreting dreams. Freud's philosophy was that the human psyche was far from rational, but is powerfully influenced by unconscious forces. Another sociologist, Ivan Pavlov, was a Russian who is known for his work on classical conditioning. Pavlovian conditioning was originally discovered on accident while Ivan Pavlov was experimenting with dog salivation when being fed. While doing his research, he realized that dogs salivated when they heard the assistant's footsteps. The assistant would feed the dogs. He also realized that anything which the dogs associated with food would trigger the same response. This brought him to the conclusion that there were some things that didn't need to be taught, such as dogs salivating when they smelt food. Pavlov developed a new way of learning. Pavlov would further his research by adding in a metronome. Every time the metronome produced a noise, the dogs would be given a treat. As expected, the sound of the metronome clicking resulted in an increase of salivation. The experiment became known as a Pavlovian response. When a neutral stimulus, which would be the metronome, becomes a conditioned response. Max Weber was a German sociologist, philosopher, and social economist. Weber challenged positivism, declaring that because human experience is always changing, there are no constant or enduring laws. He also said that the amount of sheer facts involved in policymaking would prevent decisive action from politicians and bureaucrats. Weber believed that capitalism was made possible through a set of religious ideas, Protestant ideas, more specifically Calvinist ideas. His first reason was that Protestantism makes you feel guilty, while in Christianity you are able to confess your transgressions whenever you deem necessary. This was not available to Protestants. The second idea was that Protestant feelings of guilt resulted in an obsession of hard work. It was believed that hard work could cleanse your sins. Due to this, there were less celebrations and days of rest. The third idea is that any work could be done in God's name. The fourth idea was that the community comes before the family. Family could lead to selfish and egotistical motives, and you should direct selfless motives to the community. The fifth and final idea was that there are no miracles. This meant that prosperity could only be achieved through hard work and selflessness. And without miracles, people turn to science for answers and solutions. Weber also believed that there were three types of power humanity had gone through. The first was where kings would rely on divinity to justify their power. The second was charismatic authority, where a ruler's authority and rise to power could come from heroism and a good personality. An example of this would be Napoleon. The third and final was where bureaucracy achieved its power through knowledge and knowing how things worked. Some key words for psychology and sociology are Sigmund Freud, psychoanalysis, levels of conscious, Ivan Pavlov, and Max Weber.
Sigmund Freud had become a very influential psychologist in the late 20th century with his theories. Psychoanalysis proved to be his effective use of determining the mental illness of the individual through dreams. His theory of levels of conscience proved the existence of id, ego, and superego. Ivan Pavlov's theories of neural stimulus proved to be useful and applicable to humans, while Max Weber's theories about traditional authority and such proved to also be quite applicable to humans.